everyone. I just want to welcome you back to BabyChatTV's series of live web chats. For those of you who haven't seen our web chats before, I am Jessica Warm on behalf of BabyChatTV, and today I have with me our website's resident expert, international board-certified lactation consultant, Leigh Anne O'Connor. And before I go into our viewers' questions, and we had several of them submitted to us, so hopefully we get a chance to cover all of them, and if we don't, we do apologize. I'd actually love for Leigh Anne to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background experience, kind of what started you working in this field, because I can't really imagine thinking about doing that myself. So just let us know a little bit about you.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Well, I came to lactation through motherhood. When I had my first daughter almost 20 years ago, I was a little overwhelmed and surprised about how challenging breastfeeding was and just being a new mother. And my sister-in-law encouraged me to go to La Leche League meetings, which I did. And there I kind of found my tribe of mothers. And I started volunteering as a La Leche League leader. And from there, I fell in love with helping mothers. I fell in love with breastfeeding personally and empowering other mothers. And I thought it would be a great career move for me. So I started studying and worked towards becoming an IBCLC. And I've had a private practice for 13 years. It's kind of followed me through my path of motherhood. I had 2 more children. My last, he's almost 10. I was in private practice when he was a baby, and he used to come along and be my demonstration model. So anyway, so that's sort of how I came into doing this.
Very nice. Definitely a very interesting career, but definitely very rewarding, I'm sure.
For sure.
Our first question is from Emily, who is actually expecting twins. And her first question was, she's been told that she's supposed to try to get the twins on the same feeding schedule, but she's not sure how soon she's going to be able to start doing that and how she is going to be able to.
Right. So I've worked with lots of twins. In the beginning, most mothers find that it's kind of nice to focus on one baby at a time because they're different. They're 2 different people, and one might be a better nurser, an easier nurser, a different nurser. One might be faster, one might be more of a gourmet. So to focus on one baby at a time. Also, she's new at this, and holding 2 babies that are new and wiggly can be kind of challenging. So, in the early days, maybe even the early weeks, it's a good idea to focus on one. It's incredibly time consuming. All new parents should ask for help, but twins mothers accept as much help as possible and ask for help. And anybody who has twins coming into their world, into their friend's world, jump in and help those mothers.
Great. I always think about the challenges of twins, but that's one thing that you don't ever think about, but I'm sure it is quite the challenge.
And it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. And what I will say is once they're a little bit older and they're easy at latching themselves on, then moms have a great time nursing both of them at one time. And it's very sweet because the twins can kind of like hold hands. It's such a sweet thing. They have this little buddy thing going on when they're nursing at the same time. So when they're a little bit older.
Oh, very cute. And then she also would like to know if you have any logistical pointers for comfortably feeding both of them at once, for example, just to make it a little easier on her.
Right, for sure. So any mom should make herself comfortable. Sitting back, you know, you don't want to lean forward. So many mothers are find themselves hunched over. Sitting back. In general, I don't think we all need pillows, but for twins, it's kind of nice to have one of those big twins pillows that wraps around so that she can maybe have both of them sort of on either side, or alternatively have one on what people call the football hold, which is, you know, beside her, and the other one sort of in the cradle hold, so that, you know, it's sort of one here and one here, with the legs sort of dangling on her lap and the other legs behind her back. So the important thing, get herself comfortable. Don't hunch over.
Very interesting. I can't even imagine if I had triplets what I would do. That seems very complicated.
I think they have to take turns for sure. Yes. Unless you which, anyway, that's another live chat.
Definitely so. Is there any other additional advice that you could offer just for any mom expecting twins that might be a little different?
Just to be patient and again, outsource food, house cleaning, other children, outsource and ask for help and accept help. And don't try to do too much except for feed your babies.
Great, thank you. Our next question is from Alyssa, and she says she will be heading back to work after 4 months at home. She's really concerned about pumping for the first time. Do you recommend a hospital grade pump, or is one from over the counter okay?
Everybody's different. That's a hard question to answer. You know, it's good for her to not wait until right before she's going back to work. So maybe once she feels like breastfeeding is established, somewhere around maybe 6 weeks, she could experiment with pumping. If she has an over-the-counter pump, she could try it out and see if it works for her, if it's comfortable. Different people respond to different pumps. If she can swing a hospital-grade pump, that is almost always better. And a lot of it also depends on how frequent she's going to pump, and how, you know, is she going to be working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, for example. If that's the case, she probably needs to be pumping about 3 times a day, and then to continue to nurse her baby while she's with her baby. And many mothers who are working find that if they nurse when they're together, meaning that if they're working more of a traditional, we'll say that she has 2 days off a weekend, on Monday, she will probably pump more than she does on Friday, because her baby has been with her skin to skin, stimulating the milk production.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And then she also wants to know what she should do if her child will not take the bottle while she's away at work.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed that. What she should do if the baby doesn't take a bottle?
Yes, if she doesn't take the bottle while she's at work.
Okay. Well, you know, it's been very rare in all of my years, 18, 19 years of helping people. There's only been 2 babies that really were real holdouts, and that just really waited for their mom to come home. But mostly the baby will take it. The idea is not to like overwhelm the baby with a fast flow bottle. Don't put the baby upside down. Wear the baby, have somebody else give the baby the bottle. The partner, the caregiver, have them wear the baby, keep the baby upright, be cozy with the baby. Because when a mother's nursing, it's an extension of love, right? And there's a lot of touch and feeling that goes on. And bottles can be the same way. You can be cozy and loving and slow with the bottle, and not to give up. And maybe the mom herself should not be the person who gives the bottle, but maybe another person, another loving person.
Oh, makes sense. Then Renee would like to know, or she is currently 6 months pregnant, and this is her first pregnancy. She says that she's always struggled with fluctuating weight, and she's nervous that she's going to have difficulty losing the baby weight after she has her daughter. Will breastfeeding really help her lose the weight, or is this a myth?
Well, breastfeeding can help with weight loss. The idea is not to eat a ton of sugary food and to overeat while you're nursing. But in general, yes, breastfeeding does burn up quite a bit of calories. So if you eat to quench your thirst and your hunger, and eat a generally speaking healthy diet, then yeah, most mothers will drop weight.
Okay, good.
It's not a guarantee, but it can work.
It's not a good diet choice or weight loss regimen.
What I will tell you from personal experience on Weight Watchers, there was there is a like a breastfeeding Weight Watchers variation, and the amount of food you get equaled about, I think it was between 300 and 500 calories a day, which included weight loss. So yeah, so it can work.
Oh, good. Good to know.
Yeah.
Claire would like to know, why does my baby get so frustrated when I attempt to breastfeed him, but bottles are fine for him?
Okay, that's a tricky question. That's one of those that I can't say for sure. It depends on how old that baby is, how many bottles he's gotten, what kind of bottles. You know, there's this whole idea of nipple confusion. Well, what we figured out is babies aren't confused at all. They have a preference. If babies are getting fast bottles that are very, very, full, they're being overfed quickly, then they're not going to have an easy time at the breast. That's one issue. Working the breast helps develop those muscles, the jaw, the tongue. It helps develop the shape of the mouth. So it takes more effort and more work. But if a baby's not having to use that effort, then they're not going to want to. The other issue, again, depending on what's going on, sometimes if the baby has a little bit of, this sounds like a scary word, birth trauma, you know, if they've been kind of, have some stiffness in their neck, for example, sometimes that makes breastfeeding hard. Another issue is if the baby is tongue-tied. That's when the little bit of skin under the tongue is too tight. Sometimes that makes it harder for them to grasp onto the breast. So the bottle is just naturally easier. So in a case like that, I would encourage this mom to meet with an IBCLC to evaluate what's going on.
Okay, great. Actually, since you said tongue tie, I will skip ahead and come back. One of our viewers, Samantha, said that she believes that her baby does have tongue tie, and she wants to know how this is going to affect her breastfeeding.
Okay, so tongue-tied babies can breastfeed. Some of them can. It depends on the severity of the tissue that tethers their tongue to the floor of the mouth. In some cases, the baby just needs to be fed frequently, like more frequent than an average baby, because it takes so much effort for them to get milk out and they can't get out as much, so they need to be fed smaller meals more often. And if that is the case, the mother wants to make sure that her milk supply stays up, because a lot of those babies aren't moving milk, they're not stimulating milk production, so that then it sends signal to her body to slow down milk production. So it can impact her in her milk supply, and it can also impact her comfort and her baby's comfort. Babies who have this much tension in their mouth are not comfortable, and those mothers often will get sore nipples, they'll get pinched nipples, or they'll get engorged because the baby's not drawing the milk out. So it really can have an impact on the supply immediately or long term.
Doesn't sound too comfortable. I can only imagine. So then back to Claire had one more question.
Sure.
She said, is it okay if I drink a glass of wine while breastfeeding? I've heard that I should wait a few hours after or before feeding again, but what would you say is the rule of thumb for this?
The general rule of thumb is to have your glass of wine, have it with your meal when you're hydrated. Don't worry about the timing, because if you wait a few hours, that we'll have different metabolisms. You just want to enjoy the wine in a way that you're not going to get drunk. You know, it's not going to impact the baby. It's being filtered through your milk, and I think typically, and again, there's a wide variety of what's normal. About an hour afterwards might be when it's at its peak place in terms of content in the milk, but it recedes, and it just depends. What's the mom's metabolism? How old is her baby? What did she have for dinner? Is she hydrated? How much of a glass of wine did she have? Did she have 2 ounces? Did she have 8 ounces? You know, so don't drink 8 ounces. Baby, that's probably the bigger risk, dropping your baby. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Enjoy.
We don't want any babies dropped. Kristen, our next question is from, and she said, from time to time, my baby vomits a few minutes after I breastfeed her. Is there anything I can do to prevent this? And how do I handle this when it happens?
Okay, so my first response is to wear cotton because it's very clean. Some babies are spitters, and if you know that you have a baby who's a spitter, you might want to keep her upright for a little while afterwards, and just know that she will outgrow this. And if she's otherwise happy and gaining weight, then we just call it a laundry problem.
Okay, great. And then how do I stop my baby from chewing?
Well, I guess we have to figure out why the baby's chewing. So again, this kind of goes to, well, how old is this baby? Is this baby getting a lot of bottles and a lot of pacifiers? Is the baby teething? So there's not one answer to that. You know, you want to limit artificial nipples so that the baby really masters the breast and understands what the breast is for, as opposed to, you know, chewing on a pacifier or a bottle. It's, you know, again, that's a tricky one. I can't answer that straight out because there's too many. I have too many questions about the question.
Okay. Wish I could answer them, but we'll move on to the next then. Melissa says, one breast produces milk and the other does not. What do I do about this? So
I'm sorry. So one produces more milk than the other. Is that the question?
She says one produces milk and the other does not at all, I believe. What do I do?
Okay. So If she has enough milk to feed her baby in one breast, that's all she needs. So she'll be a little uneven, but that doesn't matter. You don't need necessarily two breasts to feed a baby. I've actually worked with many women, cancer survivors, or just, you know, babies that refused a breast, an inverted nipple, where the baby just gravitated towards one breast and that baby thrived on one breast. Think of twins, you know, twins get, you know,
very true,
one breast each. So if the baby's doing well, then that's what it is.
So that is common that one will produce milk and one won't?
Well, I don't know that it's common, but it's not unheard of.
Okay.
It does happen sometimes.
All right. Then she would also like to know, what is the real deal with those lactation cookies? Are there actually any brands that you recommend that do work?
I don't recommend lactation cookies because I don't not recommend them, but I don't choose a brand to recommend. I think it's sort of a fad right now. Okay. There are foods and herbs that can make milk. They're called galactagogues, food that increase milk production, and there are some that are anti-galactagogues that can reduce milk production. I like cookies. I love to bake. I think it's nice to have a cookie, but if you're having a milk supply issue, you need to get to the heart of that and figure out what's going on and not just be pounding cookies, you know?
An excuse to have cookies.
Right. I mean, you know, and everything in moderation, right? But it's the hot new trend, lactation cookies.
So whatever they put in them is?
So often there's oats. Oatmeal is one of those galactagogues. There's brewer's yeast often. And depending on who makes them, there can be different herbs, you know, fenugreek, goat's rue, all these different things. But, you know, you can just eat a regular cookie and nurse your baby.
You know? It's not going to solve your problems.
Right. If there's a milk supply issue, you want to figure out what's going on. Why is there a milk supply issue, and address that. And listen, I know that there are people out there that are saying, I did so much better when I ate my lactation cookies. I just made more milk. That is great. More power to you, and I respect that, and I think that's great, but I don't think there should be a run on lactation cookies in the baby store.
Okay, good to know. And then Naomi would like to know, she says, what is your opinion on the right age to stop your baby from breastfeeding? I know this is a controversial one. And is it okay to go up to age 3 or maybe even 4 years old?
Okay. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I do a group for older nursing babies. My original plan was to nurse my first child for a year. And when we got to a year, I didn't know why I would stop, how I would stop, and who would benefit. It wouldn't benefit anyone. And then I kind of grew into seeing how it's very normal to be nursing a toddler and a preschooler. It's their immune system isn't quite developed yet. So it's absolutely normal to be nursing into age 3, 4, 5. I think the average is about 4 years of if we left nature alone. That is just sort of what's normal. I don't think anybody besides the mother and baby should decide when they should stop. If a mother is done and she wants to be done, then she has to think about that. If her baby's done before she's ready, she has to think about that. You have to think of them as a unit and figure out what's working for them. I will tell you that when the mothers whom I've supported over the years who've nursed into toddlerhood, sometimes it could be challenging, but they felt like they had a superpower that their peers didn't have. There's nothing that can calm a tantrum like scooping up a baby and putting her in your arms and letting her nurse and calm herself down. There's nothing like a baby and all the little friends in your playgroup have a stomach virus going around, everybody vomiting, and babies losing weight and being hospitalized, and your baby's nursing and being hydrated, maybe has mild diarrhea. Like little things like that are huge. We don't think about that. It hasn't been that normalized, but it is absolutely normal and appropriate for a toddler to be nursing. And again, I've supported so many mothers who felt they were done at 6 months nursing or 12 months or whatever, and she has to make an informed decision. So it's my opinion. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. It's for the mother and the baby.
Just out of curiosity of my own, what, from your experience, what is the average amount of time that people usually do it until, or when do they stop?
Well, I mean, you know, in this country, we wean way too early in terms of, for various reasons. Mothers go back to work and they're not supported. There's marketing of other types of feeding. There's scheduled feeding there's a lot of things that undermine breastfeeding. And then the truth is that we sexualize this breast, right? The breast becomes this sexual object that we have to separate from our children. Whereas the function of our breast first is mammary glands. They make milk, and it's you know, we have to know the body. I don't want to get too super philosophical here, but the body has many functions of nurturing and loving and being sexual, but also just, you know, just being. And so we have to know that it's all, we have to encompass all of that. And now I'm really getting philosophical, but it, you know, it's the average age normally, if we don't interfere culturally, I believe is 4.2 years of weaning. So that means that there's a range between 2 years and 7 years.
Okay. That's interesting. Good to know.
Yeah. Typically, babies don't wean on their own. Babies don't typically wean before the age of 2. That's mother-led weaning.
Okay. Good to know. And then she also would like to know if there are any foods that she should avoid while breastfeeding, or if there are specific foods that are better to eat while breastfeeding.
I don't recommend pot brownies. I don't think. You know, you want to keep your body clean. It's a place where you grow your baby inside and out. Generally speaking, you want to eat a diet of whole foods that you enjoy. Does that mean if somebody, I remember meeting this mother, and I kind of felt sad because she thought that by eating an imperfect diet, that her milk was inferior to formula. So she would if she ate something that she didn't think was like pure, she would give her baby formula, which is such a myth, and such, you know, this idea that we have to be perfect is really hard and unfair on mothers and on their babies, because then the mothers feel guilty and then they don't nurse their babies and it becomes very complicated. So eat the food you like to eat that makes you feel good, that gives you energy, that makes you feel like you're healthy.
Okay. I think that's actually it for the questions we had from the viewers. Is there anything else that you want to add? Any recommendations you have? Just anything specific you want to tell everyone?
Well, you know, I commend all of you for getting out there and being mothers and parents and caring for your children. I think it's important that everyone find their tribe, their community. Reach out. It's kind of scary moving into the mother world. We don't realize it, and sometimes when you're afraid to kind of jump in, there could be another mother who's equally afraid, and you know, you might feel judged because she's shy. So kind of put yourself out there, because we need a community, and you'll find those mothers that can support you. And I think that's invaluable. Go to La Leche League meetings, go to breastfeeding support groups. There's all kinds of different little groups and communities. And don't be afraid to nurse your baby. Don't be afraid to hold your baby.
I'm sure people are more than you realize. So
yeah.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, then I think we covered all of the questions that we had for today. So, I mean, if anyone is interested in learning some more, Leigh Anne has a full series on BabyChatTV.com if you want to take a look at that, or you can always contact us if you have any additional questions. So, if you have anything else to say, Leigh Anne?
Just thank you for having me, and you can always reach out to me through BabyChatTV or through my website, LeighAnneO'Connor.com. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, you too. Good night.